I have to build that relationship and that trust with the player, to get to the point where the hard conversations, uh, I don't want to say the word negative, Podsy, but just the ones where you tell a kid, like, you're going to have to get to the net front at some point in your life. That's where the goals are scored. I know you look good stick handling with your pep hockey skills underneath stuff and around, but eventually you're going to have to get there. And you're going to have to win those races to the puck. You don't have to let your buddy go do it all the time. That's a beat around way saying, you got to give your balls a squeeze. Basically. And those are hard conversations for kids to accept sometimes.
That was Andy Delmore, player development coach for the Chicago Blackhawks. And you are listening to the Up My Hockey podcast with Jason Podolin. Just watch me now. Welcome to Up My Hockey with Jason Podolin, where we deconstruct the NHL journey, discuss what it takes to make it, and have a few laughs along the way. I'm your host, Jason Podolin, a 31st overall draft pick who played 41 NHL games, but thought he was destined for 1,000. Learn from my story and those of my guests. This is a hockey podcast about reaching your potential. Hi there, this is Jason Podolin with the Up My Hockey podcast. Welcome back, or welcome to the show. Great to have you with us today. We are going to be speaking with a past guest of the podcast, Andy Delmore. Andy Delmore, in our first interview, which I believe was episode 7, way back in the day, we chatted about his career for the most part, and it was quite a career at that. Andy played lots of games in the NHL with different teams. He also played overseas. He played in the minors, and he was a very, very accomplished defenseman, a very accomplished offensive defenseman that actually put up huge numbers, huge goal numbers during his time there. And he's it's a very interesting story if you want to go back and listen to that, just how he kind of wasn't able to stick as an NHLer, even though he was able to score, I think, 18 goals one season. He scored the type of goals, or the number of goals, that very, very few defensemen score. I believe one year he was top 3 in the league in goals. And anyways, it is what it is, and everyone has their story. But Andy was a heck of a player. I was able to play with him in Germany, where we became fast friends. We hung out all the time the year that I played there with him, and got to know him really well. And he's gone on to do some great things since he's retired. He was coaching for a while in the OHL. I believe he was also in the American League. And now he is working player development for the Chicago Blackhawks. So he gets assigned players from the team, drafted players that are trying to become pros and future Blackhawks. And it's his job to help them along on their path. So he'll go out to these, to these arenas, wherever the players are, and he'll watch them live, and he'll meet with them for dinners, and he'll speak with them on the phone and watch game tape with them. And yeah, he's just assigned to players to help them become the best player that they can be. He loves what he's doing now. I thought it'd be a great opportunity to get him back on the podcast. As we all know here, this is about player development, so why not talk to somebody who specializes it at the highest level? And we dive into all the good things, player development, and yeah, it was a great conversation. So without further ado, I'll bring you Andy Delmore back for a second time to the Up My Hockey podcast. Enjoy. All right, welcome back to the podcast, Andy Delmore. Happy to have you, partner.
Thanks, Podsy.
We're as I just told you, we're 167 now, and for the real, I don't know what you call it, the hardcore Up My Hockey fans would have heard you on episode 7. So this is 160 episodes later, pal. You're back. Good to have you back. And you got a new title now, Chicago Blackhawks player development. I think you were coaching in the OHL last time we spoke.
2020, that was pre-COVID, right? During
pre-COVID.
So might have been still in Toledo, possibly. Then I made a stop in the OHL for a few years, had some great success in Windsor. but I'm happy to be part of a great organization in Chicago, helping out with their player development.
Yeah, that's a ton of fun and a whole new bucket of stuff to talk about. So
Yep.
yeah, for I don't know what I said in the introduction or whatever, but Andy was a heck of a player in his own right. I think top 2 or 3 for goals in the entire NHL in a season when he was playing there. I had a chance to play with him in Germany, so extensive background as a player, and now has been given back as a coach and now in player development. And as he said, with Chicago, so super cool. So how did maybe we should just start there? Was it a network type thing as far as getting into the job in Chicago in the first place?
Yeah, I had run into one of my old roommates when I played in Philadelphia. I ran into him at the draft in actually the airport, leaving the draft in Nashville, and I had just kind of mentioned to him if there was anything that ever became available, I'd be interested in that kind of player development side. It's not far off coaching, just from a different lens, basically, but um, and then yeah, he had called, or I had reached back out to him, maybe 6 months later, and he said, I think I have a guy that's leaving. Do you have interest still? And it kind of just went from there.
Yeah, that's wild. I think
Yeah.
that's cool actually thing to discuss. Like the being a coach, being a head coach, well, if one being a head coach, you have everything to deal with, right? On the macro level, and there isn't a ton of time for individual player stuff, which is generally where the assistant coaches kind of come in, right? They have more of the hands-on discussions with the players. They're more interacting with the players, have more of social interactions. And now you're talking about the player development side, which now it's even less players and probably I'd assume than even an assistant coach. Like how many guys do you have assigned to you right now?
Well, I had a few more last year, just due to the other person I work with in player development went to Rockford just with the coaching changes within the Chicago organization. He had kind of helped out in Rockford as the head coach, so I took over some of his players. This year it's down to seven. I have one kid that's injured right now. He'll be out till end of January. So there's six, and then actually it was five hockey players for a bit and one football player. I actually have the kid Mason West that just won the Minnesota State Championship football quarterback, but he's heading to Fargo in the USHL next Monday. So then I'll be up to six actual hockey players and then one on injured reserve.
Well, that's wild. So yeah, like the real small nest essentially, right? Like you got 6, 7 guys that you can totally focus on, dive into, which you don't have the luxury of doing, like I said, back in in the traditional coaching job. What do you think is the biggest difference between the two of them, being an assistant to being part of player development?
Well, I would say travel would be number one. Going out to see these guys play, giving them feedback, getting to know them as players, as people. Number one, to make those conversations a lot easier. The hard ones, the good ones. It's nice to get to know these kids and see, what clicks and what buttons to push. Much like a coach would do. Is everybody's got a different personality and a different way of learning and communicating. So, just trying to get to know them on that side of it, and then go from there, Budsy.
Yeah, no doubt. So maybe I find that really interesting. The hockey player slash football player. So he is somebody that was drafted by you guys, but he's just a multi-sport athlete at a high level, obviously.
Yeah, last year, first round pick, um, out of Minnesota high school hockey, Edina. Um, but he was a two sport athlete basically all the way growing up. And he had been playing football with his high school class, even pre-high school. So he had kind of mentioned that he'd like to finish the senior year in high school football. And I actually had the chance to go out and see him twice play football this year. The last time being in the state semifinals, which was a couple weeks ago. Threw for four TDs and ran for one. And the other thing, Podsy, which is you're going to be go, oh my goodness, is he's 6'6", 6'5", 230, right-handed shot forward.
Right.
So and believe me, when I see him on the football field, he runs and You think 6'6", you think the big duck, clumsy feet, and he just can't
Yeah,
get around. He gets around really well. And, a quarterback leading his team, getting the plays from the sidelines. There's lots of things to be excited about with this young kid.
that's wild. And so I know you're not involved in the drafting part of it, but I'm sure there must have been a lot of discussion about, is he going to play hockey? Like, is he choosing hockey over football? Is that a decision that seems to have been made at this point for him?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we would have never drafted him in the first round if he would have said, "Well, I'm gonna think about going." You know, either way, maybe he didn't know, but
Yeah,
he committed to hockey. He's committed to Michigan State next year on a hockey scholarship. So, as far as I know, Potsy, that was his last football game last week.
right, right. Wow. Because I mean, sounds like there would have been a lot of offers. It sounds like on the football side, I'm sure on the university level too, for how big he is and the type of player that you're saying you saw
Yeah,
out there.
I'm not a football scout. I don't know how good he is in comparison to some kid in Texas or
Yeah,
California,
yeah.
but I don't know Minnesota football that well.
Right. But you know what 4 TDs is, and you know what a running touchdown is. That's fun. Oh my goodness.
It's better than what we would be doing, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. That's fun. So you got 7 players in the mix. You talked about learning, how to push their buttons. I guess that is like when you're assigned a player, you I would assume that the kind of the general objective is to get them to be as good as they can be. And if that happens, then they have the best chance to become an NHLer and a Chicago Blackhawk. Is there any mandate around that about how that happens or what you do to help them become their best?
Well, I think the first thing we do is not just myself, but my boss and uh who's also the assistant general manager with the Blackhawks and who's in constant communication with our GM Kyle Davidson, assistant GM Norma Kyver, our advisor Brian Campbell. We try and identify what are the things that so and so needs to make it to the NHL. As a staff, we kind of put that together, and then I can kind of go through that in more detail. Uh, let's just say I'm going to use a kid. Won't say his name. Well, I can say his name. Nick Lardis. Scored 72 goals, 71 goals, sorry, in the OHL last year. What does he need to do in Rockford this year to get better? Uh, is it wall play? It could be something so minuscule that's keeping him out of the NHL. Um, so I had him last year, and now he's in Rockford. He's got a whole staff there on the development side. But just it can be something so small, and then finding those habits and helping him with those habits to get better at the wall play in all three zones. It doesn't have to be defensive zone, getting the puck out. Could be neutral zone, board play behind the net, all those types of things that go into wall play. So it could
Hmm.
be something as small as that for one player.
Yeah, awesome. How about for those listening? Like, so you in that scenario, like, let's say, so you work with this player, player X. It is wall play that is the thing that they're working on. You're watching, like, you travel to watch this guy. As far as I know, maybe you are, maybe you're on the ice actually doing skill development work with them. But like, how does that now translate something like wall play to this player when it comes through your relationship with him?
Yeah, I've been on the ice. I don't go on the ice that often. I think all these kids in all these leagues these days have enough coaches on ice and skill development guys on ice. But I have gone on, just creating the habits. Not too many. Let's just say there's 3 habits to work on wall play. You could go through, pre-scanning, um, proactive contact, um, driving the D man back and then coming back for the puck. All these habits and things that we can work on. And then obviously I have a pretty extensive video library on my computer where I can go through it with these players. Um, Another thing, Podsy, I'd like to ask these guys is, who do they model their game after? Who is someone in the NHL that, they want to compare themselves to? Obviously, as coaches and, like yourself, coaches and development staff, we always, find a comparison for this kid. Let's say this kid is a big I don't name me a winger in the NHL, Podsy, quick. Give me
Uh,
somebody.
Tom Wilson.
Okay, so now we'll bring up Tom Wilson's clips, and I'll go find some wall play from Tom Wilson and show this kid that thinks his comparison is Tom Wilson. And we'll look at what he does, just to see it. And then obviously I can go through his clips later on and go through his wall play. We can dissect it, very simple. Like, what were you? I didn't see you pre-scan here. What could you have done better on this play? And we can just go through it on a video session. Excuse me. And then obviously when I go see him play, I'll watch the wall play. And it's not just that. There's other things in the game that we're watching as well.
Yeah.
It could be just his overall effort, or any other little things as well. Podsy, uh, let's say this kid's on the power play and he didn't have a good night. Maybe because he flipped sides, he went from his strong side to a one-timer side on the PP that night. We can talk about it after the game. Maybe some pointers there on some positioning, some timing things. So it's not just stuck on a couple things. There's always stuff to add and stuff to improve on.
Yeah. Yeah, but I like that, even that approach, to be honest, because when it becomes lots of things, you know how that goes. Sometimes it's hard for the player to even really digest which one, right? Especially if we're trying to change some habits. So there is a lot of things in the game, and I'm sure someone of your experience will be able to spot them. But keeping the kid on the rails, and what is the core things that we're trying to do here, because that doesn't happen overnight. I was going to actually give you the example. Like, I got a player here that we're working with in Coeur d'Alene, and anyways, really good player, but I think he has a hard time getting into the middle, right? Like, likes to move pucks and kind of stay on the outside, but has the ability to get there, big, strong, fast. But it's the habits that he's created over the course of his time it has him on the outside. So my question,
we have those guys. We have those guys too, Podsy.
Yeah, I believe it, right? And how important is that, right? To add another layer to their game and score goals from the inside and not just the outside, and depending on the shot and this, that, and the other. So trying to work with him on that, and so in those discussions, like, I'm talking about the habits and saying, hey man, like, these things are hard to break. Like, just because we have this conversation right now that I ask you to do this, I understand that it's probably not just going to happen, the next game or whatever. But I'm like, where you need to buy in to the idea is that you need to have reps, and you need to think about this without being on the ice, because if you just wait for it to be on the ice, I'm like that is going to be a really long process, and you're probably going to get stuck a few times. So, like, for me, the visualization aspect is like how you can speed this up, and how guys can really buy in. Do you talk about that much with your players as far as that side? I mean, like, I'm thinking the wall play too, because that would be such a, if you're not pre-scanning, and if you're not, creating space for yourself, right? Like, this is something that, yes, you need to work on in practice for sure, but I would think that you need to see yourself in those situations, like visually see yourself doing it right. So it becomes more of a habit on the ice. But, how do you guys handle that?
Yeah, I think obviously showing the video of some other players doing it correctly can help you visualize. Oh, that's what it looks like. I did see him pre-scan. That's where he did it. That he got to that point in the ice, and he goes, "Oh, the D's coming around the net now. Maybe I should scan before I get this puck and maybe get run over." So I think seeing it done correctly, it doesn't always have to be your comparison or whatever, but that's going to help you visualize and see how it's done correctly. Hopefully, it's one of the Chicago Blackhawks that I'm showing. It makes it a little bit better to see our guys doing the things correctly, and go from there.
Yeah, the when it comes to the idea of coachability, like, so you are helping these guys get better, and so one of the things that I was kind of talking about is like the ability to buy in, right? It's one thing to say you want to be a player, right, and you do want to improve, but like, I've seen it. There's ways to be coachable, right? The way, like, the quicker guys can apply. I'm sure you've seen it now. Like, we're working with how many players that you've worked with. Like, some guys are able to implement quicker. Some guys are able to adapt quicker. What do you see in the players that are able to do that? Like, what are some of the intangibles that you can speak to that allows a player to develop maybe quicker than somebody else?
It's kind of the magic question sometimes, Podsy, is everybody learns differently, everybody adapts differently. I think sometimes you can just see it when you're talking to somebody, either the eye contact they're making. Some of the young kids, you're talking to them and they're looking up in the stands. Oh, there's a nice advertisement. But other kids, they stare at you and they're adapting and they're not afraid to try things. I guess I would say, and they're not afraid to try it at a high speed. Failure is okay at the early stages of doing things. And if you're doing it with speed and pace, uh, I think you're gonna adapt a little bit quicker. Although
Mhm.
there might be a few more mistakes in the beginning, believe me, all coaches know that's going to happen. That's part of the learning curve in the process. But making mistakes is not a big deal. I think you got to push yourself, push the limits, and do it quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. You mentioned listening there. I actually just saw a clip on coaching saying that if you want to be an elite hockey player, you have to be an elite listener. Uh, that engagement, like I find that engagement from kids who aren't, you know, making eye contact just to make eye contact or like thinking about what they're supposed to say, but actually trying to process, and being involved in the conversation and being engaged in the conversation. Uh, do you feel that that is a development skill, the ability to listen?
Elite listeners are usually, like you said, they get it quicker. Um, and it's actually pretty hard to sometimes to establish who is an elite listener, because there's a lot of kids that will be looking at you and saying and doing all the right things, and then they go on the ice and you just don't see it.
Yeah.
So elite listeners, and there's elite processors. You got to process the information and then go be able to do it as well.
Yeah, the idea of coachability, I talked about that with my group and just telling them like how important that is. One, to understand the concept, which is great. Like you have to be able to listen at the first place, right? Like you said,
Yeah.
like sometimes you have guys that are here or whatever, or you're giving them feedback and you can tell there's resistance for whatever reason. They're not listening really, right? So they don't even really have the concept. So there's that aspect. Phase one is like, what is being asked of me and do I understand it? And then the next part is like the implementation. Like, can I now apply this?
Yep. Can
Um,
I process it and go apply?
yeah, can I process and go apply? Like, am I able to follow through on that scenario? And I told my guys, I mean, we got 15, 16-year-old here right now at the U18 level and well,
Hmm.
17-year-olds too. And I'm like, you have no idea how valuable like this concept is for you guys, right?
Hmm.
Because someone like you even, and you're assigned, some high profile Blackhawks prospects, like it can get trying if a guy isn't able to apply or feels like he's not listening. I'm like, a coach only has so much bandwidth for being able to be repetitive. Like I know it's our job to do it, but I was like, guys, like, if I get resistance like the 10th time I'm trying to talk to you about something, like at some point I'm just gonna give, I'm going talking to another guy at some point, and
Yeah,
like,
you
and
only
that's
get you only get so many chances.
right. And that's the last thing you want, right? Like that's the last thing I want. That's the last thing you want. Like you
Yeah.
want to have opportunity and you want to get better. So I said, I don't know where you guys like you have to be able to self-audit in the process too. Like, can you get past phase one, which is the listening, like you get the concept, or are you having a problem with phase two, which was the application? And once you understand that, now maybe I can help you with that scenario. I assume guys get in their own way. I know they do because I've been that age before, and I'm sure I got
Yeah.
in my own way at times. How do the discussions go? Like, how honest are you with saying, like, "Hey, man, like this is an area like we got to work on. Like, it might be not a hockey area. This is something that we got to talk about and get out of your own way." Are those the
Yeah.
discussions you're talking about?
It takes time. I guess
Yeah,
it takes time. I have to build that relationship and that trust with the player. Uh, to get to the point where the hard conversations. Uh, I don't want to say the word negative, Podsy, but just the ones where you tell a kid like you're gonna have to get to the net front at some point in your life. That's where the goals are scored. I know
yeah,
you look good stick handling with your pep hockey skills underneath stuff and around, but eventually you're gonna have to get there. And you're gonna have to win those races to the puck. You don't have to let your buddy go do it all the time. Um, that's a beat around way saying, you got to give your balls a squeeze, basically. And those are hard
uh,
conversations for kids to accept sometimes.
right. Yeah, 100%. And I'm sure there is kids where if you say it that way, for their personality, that's the most receptive they can probably be to it. And then there is some other guys where you're probably have to say like what you said the second time, give your balls a squeeze. Like you got to be more courageous, or you got to be tougher. You got to get to the front of the net, and that might be the sledgehammer that actually wakes a guy up and makes him understand what's going on. There's nuance, man, in language for sure, and it does matter how you talk to people. Like different players process stuff different ways, and
Yep.
yeah, the message totally matters.
Take a short break from the conversation to tell you it is UMH 68 time. That is the Up My Hockey 68, the invitational event that is running throughout Western Canada this 2026. We have released the watch lists on the upmyhockey.com website. So you should get over to upmyhockey.com, go to the the UMH 68 portion, and see what's available in your province. We are unleashing a female event in BC, in Saskatchewan, and in Manitoba this year. Different age groups on that. So get your eyes on where we're coming, who we are catering to, and get your names on the watch list. Another opportunity with UMH 68 is for people who want to be involved in it from a sponsorship category. Had some amazing sponsors last year: BioSteel, Elite Prospects. We had lots of involvement from local companies, and it was a fantastic 2025 season. But as always, we're looking to grow. One of the things that I take pride in with the UMH 68 is keeping the costs low for what the players get at our events. The value is so recognizable when you compare to other showcases, other events that go on. And for me, I don't want to raise the prices to match the value. I would actually like to lower the prices so it makes it attainable for every player that has earned an invite to get there. And we can only do that with the sponsorship dollars and with the people that want to get involved and donate to the scholarship fund. So if you're somebody that's an individual that wants to support young hockey players to come to a great development showcase event, then by all means, please reach out. If you are a company owner, whether it be a local company or a provincial company or a national company that would like to get behind female and male youth hockey, that really supports the development of the person behind the hockey player, one of the things that Up My Hockey prides itself in, then by all means, please reach out. We'd love to get you involved, and we'd love to make this be the place for development in Western Canada. So thanks for tuning in. UMH 68, again, the watch lists are out. Check it out. Now let's get back to the conversation.
What's your favorite part about what you're doing right now?
I think I've said this numerous times. It's helping kids achieve their goals.
Yeah.
Me and you were lucky enough, or I know in my head, and I think I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but just playing one game in the NHL is all I wanted to do as a kid. It wasn't about scoring, the game 7 hat trick on the road hockey game. It was just I wanted to play one game. And I just want to help these kids achieve whatever their goals are. If their goal is to play 1,000 games in the NHL, they told me that, I would do everything I can to help that happen. And the great news when you're drafted by the Chicago Blackhawks, our scouting department does a great job of finding great kids that want it. So that eliminates a lot of that for me. I would say 99% of the kids I work with are all in and they want it, which makes my job a lot easier.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
The how does that work as far as the transfer? So you say you get a player, out of the draft, let's say, I assume, and then you said like the
Yep.
one player now went to Rockford. So you worked with him last year. Now he's in Rockford. Is he still your player at Rockford, or does that get handed over to somebody else there?
Well, it's kind of, yeah, we all have our hands still in it, I guess. Like I was in actually Austin, Texas last weekend, seeing Rockford play against the Texas Stars. And it was more because I have a relationship with some of those kids. We have some skill development guys in Rockford and whatnot. Obviously, a coaching staff there that I know as well. And, it's just like a guy, I'll say like Gavin Hayes, who's, a gifted goal scorer that hasn't scored yet this year. He's 20 games in. Um, and sometimes a different voice to Gavin helps. So after a game, actually game two, he had about 3 grade A chances. He fanned on a one timer and he missed the net twice in the slot. For a guy that hasn't scored, you should probably hit the net. Make that scope a little bit smaller. If you're shooting at a spot like this big, expand that a little bit. Let's just try and help. And Gavin isn't essentially one of my players, but we all have our hands trying to help Gavin get better.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a collective effort.
Absolutely.
And the same thing, I guess. I mean, you work with a player that ends up going to the Blackhawks. Like, really, I mean, it's a shaking of the hand. Like, you're celebrating that he got to where he got to. Technically, I guess he's not your player anymore. Now he's a Blackhawk. But I'm sure you've established some relationships there that, like you stay in touch, and I assume would give whatever support that player is still looking for, even though they are in the NHL.
Yeah, I always say to anybody that's even in the AHL or NHL, you have my number. If you ever need anything, need any help with anything, just give me a call. Obviously, Jeff Blashill and his staff do an amazing job, but it could be something off the ice as well. It doesn't have to be on ice, and he just needs somebody to talk to. I tell them, there's never a time that I'm not going to answer the phone. So,
yeah. With regards to the game, like the NHL game, there is obvious differences between, guys in the AHL or even junior, so they're progressing through the levels and they're progressing through like the way the game is played. You mentioned the wall play aspect, and I know it was just sort of a off the cuff kind of thing to pick at, but like you watch an NHL game now, like it is all along the wall. Like it is all along the wall. Offensive zone way more than ever before too. I find, like with the puck protection and in zone. And is there any other trends that you're kind of seeing where, like this skill, is essentially essential to the advancement?
Well, I guess I'll ask you, why do you think the wall play is important now? What happens in the middle of the ice?
Well, there's not as much room there.
And that's where a lot of turnovers happen.
Yeah.
In the middle of the ice. And when you turn a puck over in the middle of the ice, which I was really good at, as you know, bad things happen.
Right.
So the new trend for me, which I can see happening, is obviously these D-men getting pucks to the net offensively. Like you said, the wall play, the forwards do a great job down low. They're cycling it. They're rolling. Defensive schemes are, they're just so tight down low. They're taking away, the net front. They're taking away the low plays, which seems to be leaving the points, more readily available. Is those kids getting pucks to the paint, to the net front, with your forwards getting there. I just think the more I watch, the more I see when you get, pucks and people to the net, good things are happening. People lose coverage, people's backs turned, rebounds. There's a lot of good things going on. So I know that's a little old school, maybe, but I think it's kind of coming back a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, the low to high for sure. Like I just like the amount of reverses in the offensive zone, let's call them, right? Like a rim, like an offensive rim. Like I think back in our day, like we would rim it to get in, but very rarely do I ever remember rimming from like the weak side, strong side, all the way to the weak side to the point of the top, right? Like that play has become really standardized now, to spread teams out and then to get the puck back to the point. And yeah, to your point there, like the wristers from the point getting through is something that is totally happening. And the thing I also noticed though is like the amount of not wasted shots from the forwards just coming down and throwing a puck on net. Like, they're much more strategic and picky about how they get pucks to the net. Like you see an NHL game now, there's very rarely over 30 shots on goal. Oftentimes even, at the end of, 2 periods, I've been noticing 12 shots, 15 shots, like
shot
really
quality.
yeah, shot quality, right? Like waiting for traffic, waiting for net front. the goalies are too good without a screen and with nobody coming. They can control rebounds and suck it up. So I just noticed that there's no wasters anymore, right? Which means puck possession is much more of a priority.
I know. I kind of wish they would waste a few once in a while.
Yeah.
Some of these goalies haven't seen a shot in 8 minutes, and you're going to come down, and maybe it's not a grade A, but maybe if you're just outside the dots, you might test them.
Yeah.
Because like you said, they're not getting a lot of quality shots. And I'm still to the fact that the goalies aren't that good. I guess that's just my mindset.
Yeah.
As a shooter, if I believe he's that good, it's not. I still think they're not very good.
Yeah, no, good point. Good point. You mean giving a guy too much respect, can yeah, I mean that can have its that can hurt because people are able to make mistakes. We all see that, 100%.
They still go through their arms once in a while. It happens.
Yeah, lots of times. Yeah, it's wild. I watched that Edmonton Dallas game last night. Oof.
How did that look?
Skinner got pulled on 8 shots, 4 went in. Picard wasn't too much better, and yeah, they're in a world of hurt right now, those guys. But have you ever had a goalie?
No, we actually have a development goalie guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I leave them alone.
Yeah, that would be a whole different world.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think Edmonton might be looking for a new guy too, apparently.
Oh, there you go.
Well,
what about the D? I mean, you as a D man, you're talking about offensive zone. There wasn't as much activation when we were playing. It seems like everyone, well, maybe not everyone, but there's much more runway for guys to get off the line and to move and to come through. Any skills or any essential things that you see in today's defensemen that are kind of requirements?
I think they have just this ability to read the play differently, and that activation is happening at such a young age. Just the wall play, like old school, like the scissors, podsy, and get into the middle of the ice. And the other thing I'll say with a lot of these D men, systematically, these F3s are so much more. They're doing a great job covering for them. If there is a mistake, they have people behind them. Back in the day, if I made a mistake, it was the guy got a breakaway.
Yeah.
My partner was sleeping on the other side of the ice, and the F3, who knows where he was, and it was basically a breakaway. Now these D men, they're insulated so well with the team play that it's allowing them to take some more chances up top.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The idea of being an offensive D-man. Well, you know what? Maybe I'll ask you that because there's so many parents, and I'm talking now at the amateur level and the lower level, like that have physically said to me, well, you have to have points now, to advance. And I'm like, what do you mean you have to have points? Like, no, I'm like, I think that's completely wrong. Like there's a desire, right, to have players like a Quinn Hughes that can go and walk the blue line and do whatever they're doing, but there's still players that you need to be really great at defending and getting the puck out, for instance. Like there's
absolutely.
Yeah. So like when you're working with D now at the pro level, like I would assume not everybody was the quarterback of the power play, like when they get drafted. Like how do you see that as far as like a player identity aspect with who comes through and what teams are looking for?
Well, I think there's a good thing in saying, even though you're drafted, sometimes you still don't know what your identity is. I've had guys in junior that have had over 100 points, and I'm telling them, okay, can we please let's work on penalty killing? Like that might be how you're going to make the NHL or face-offs. Although you had 100 in junior, let's look over Chicago's lineup and have a look, and he'll be like, ooh, yeah, I might not even be able to make that third line. So there's other ways where these kids are going to have to, to me, if you're a good power play guy, you should be able to penalty kill. It's a skill, or do you have the willingness to block shots? Obviously, face-offs, good sticks, speed, lateral movement. There's lots of ways to become a good penalty killer. And it's something that I think every kid can adapt to and work on.
Yeah.
These skills, other skills that they haven't been doing, for a while.
Yeah.
Something to work on.
Yeah. Or ever. Right. And
And Podsy, you know one of my players there, Jack Pridham, who was out in West Kelowna, who's in Kitchener.
Mhm.
Who is a real offensive threat and a great skater. And he's an overager and junior this year. And like we talk about penalty killing all the time now, because his speed is so elite on that penalty kill. He's going to get offense from that, and it's going to allow him to close passing lanes. Good long stick. He's got long arms. He can take up a lot of space. So we've been working on that this year.
Yeah, and like you said, that could be an entry point into more minutes at the pro level, right?
More
You got to
minutes to
start somewhere.
help your team win, which makes everything good.
Yeah. Yeah, that is the thing, and I guess that might be that could be a blocker for some guys. The idea of, hey, I think I'm a goal scorer and I've always been on the power play. Now I'm a third line guy and I really need to, commit to the PK or commit to, just not getting scored against. And I don't really like that. I don't really have fun with that. Yet that needs to be, their entry point. Do you see any resistance when it comes to that, or how does that even get like, I guess, communicated in a way that they get it? Because maybe they don't want it, or maybe they don't believe it.
Yeah, that's my job, is to make them believe it.
Right.
We talked about that 2 weeks ago, buddy, that you want to play in the NHL, and this is a way that you can make it.
Right.
I'm sure you have, you said 15, 16, 17-year-olds, they all think they're flankers on the PP. Well, does anybody want to stay in net front and get 20 and make the NHL?
Right.
There's different ways to skin the cat around there. And, I think identifying different roles and, identifying that if you do these things, you're going to be a better hockey player.
Yeah. Yeah, that is wild. I mean, I find it interesting because, I mean, somebody does have to play the flank on the PP, right? Like there is somebody at the NHL that does that. And generally speaking, most teams will have like somebody that's a certified superstar doing that. But they were something somewhere else, right? I mean, you talked about the 100-point guy that you have, or the guy that scored 70, right? Like not everybody can score 70 in junior. Like that's a very rare accomplishment. You would think that's like this guy should be a 30, 40 goal scorer in the NHL. And some of them do become that, and some of them don't, right? Like that's like the $1 million question to me. It's like how some guys do become that at the top level in the world, and how some guys, for whatever reason, like that skill, something maybe that is holding them back, just doesn't allow it to transfer. And I guess that's where guys like you come in.
Sometimes it's not even the fact that they're not good at being a flanker. There's 4 other guys that are better.
Yeah.
That's all. So do you want to get in the bumper spot? Do you want to get net front? And, you're still going to be able to show your skill with some slip off plays to the side of the net. But, it doesn't mean you're a bad player if you're in the bumper on a power play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That is still a good thing.
Yeah. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
Did you, Frankie Nazar, I didn't really follow him really much at all. My eyes first got on him when he actually signed that contract, and to be quite frank, I didn't even know that he was an NHLer. Right? I'm not that involved with everything, and I was like, holy crap! And I looked at his stats, and I was like, wow! Like again, without seeing a shift of his, I think he scored maybe 20 or something at the NHL level, and he gets this huge deal, and I'm like, well, they must know something that whatever. I don't know, right? Or what the stats don't know. And he looks, and I got the opportunity to see them. We saw Chicago in Minnesota in exhibition, and he ended up, I think he had 2 that game. And boy, like looked polished, like looked way beyond his years, and I was like, oh, well, I mean, I kind of get it now, right? Like this guy looks to be pretty good.
It's player development, Podsy.
Well, there you go. And that's why I want to connect that, is because why this guy, right? There is guys that score 20, in the same amount of time. Sometimes that doesn't transfer. Like what did you guys see in him, and how did his development like progress to a fact of like, we're committing to this guy long term, like we really believe in what he's all about?
Yeah, well, the first time I got to see Frank play was when he just came out of the University of Michigan. And he was, I'm trying to think, then he went down to Rockford, didn't make the team out of camp that year. Went down to Rockford for, I believe, 6 weeks, Podsy. maybe 2 months. I'm not 100% sure. Got off to a kind of a slow start the first couple weeks in Rockford. Then all of a sudden, just something clicked in his head, um, and he just started going. Got called up, and just that was it. He's like, as soon as he got called up, there was something internally inside him that said, "I never want to go back to the AHL." And his play, his energy, his it just took off. And there's something inside of Frank that motivates him that is special. And he, I think he goes on the ice every night. And I'm not saying he has a chip on his shoulder. That's not the right word. Uh, an undersized speedster, but he's just got this grit that I guess we didn't really see, or I didn't see before. And
Right.
he's a gamer. He's that he fits the word gamer.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, and he's got skill. I mean, there's definitely polish there. His release, the one goal that I saw in Minnesota, I was like, holy crap, like real elite shot.
Kind of tricky speed. Like he doesn't look like a burner, but all of a sudden he's by you,
Yeah,
and you're not catching him.
yeah, yeah, which is fun for your organization to see. Obviously cool for him to commit to. But yeah, the deals that these guys are getting, hey, like after Logan Cooley, Dylan Gunther, Frankie Nazar. I know there's other guys too that aren't slipping my mind, but like,
How much of the cap going up do you think that is? Um,
okay,
giving those deals earlier, knowing that the cap's going to grow, get them early instead of getting them later, type of theory. And when I
yeah,
talk about this is completely out of my realm of player development. Um, this is GM, assistant GM kind of talk. This is us just on the outside, kind of looking in.
yeah, of course, yeah, just spitballing. But yeah, I mean that it's a big commitment for sure, right? Like the idea that you are going to be willing to throw tens of millions of dollars at a guy that technically isn't proven, right? I mean, the whole idea was like the GMs in our day would hold on to that group two kind of scenario and use that second contract for as long as you could, right? Because all they have to do is qualify you to maintain your rights. I think that the guys are more willing, I think, to take that offer sheet scenario off the table. That's the other thing I think, like with what St. Louis did there.
Yeah, that kind of changed things a little bit, eh?
I think it did, like guys aren't as willing to let that happen, like if you think that you want them around and you're not going to use that because the leverage is gone a little bit with knowing that guys might take a stab at them. So
Yeah.
yeah, anyways, but good to see.
Going to take a short break from the conversation to remind you that Up My Hockey can work directly with your academy or your association or your team. We are doing that currently with the Thunder Bay Kings up in Ontario. All of their AAA programs are running through the Peak Potential Mindset Project and having coaching calls with me. It's been a fantastic experience so far for the group and for myself, and it really is a competitive advantage for the players that get to participate in it. Not only do the individual players learn how to become the best player that they can be, to be able to manage their emotions, be able to control their development and their performance on the ice, but the group as a whole now has a whole different level of resiliency, a whole different level of language that they can use to perform together throughout the year. So if you're looking for Team Building 101, if you are somebody that believes in building the toolkit around the player to allow them to be the best hockey player that they can be, and if you aren't doing something when it comes to mental training, mental fitness, whatever you may call it, then Up My Hockey may be where you need to look. I do believe that the way that we offer the program, the curriculum involved, the way the players take the program, it really trumps anything that is out there, to my knowledge. The workshop format is dead, in my opinion. For me to get in front of somebody for an hour, a team, and try to communicate the skills of grit or resilience or of mental agility is much too long. And to be able to teach in that environment, it just isn't absorbed enough, and then things don't get applied. The way that we have done it here at Up My Hockey is short form video approach curriculum that the players consume on their own time. They do the assignments and their homework on their own time, and then we come together for a group call where the players engage with me and each other about what they're learning, how they're applying it, and what they're using. So there's very little lecturing time involved. This is all about application. It's all about using information and then applying the information and executing the information so they actually become better players. And the results speak for themselves. It's been so fun to help the growth of the individual players and also as the teams. So if you are in a decision making process and if you want something that's been proven, that is effective, that not only checks the box of yes, we are doing something for these players when it comes to mindset, but it actually makes a difference for the players, that it's more than just a checkbox. It is something that builds culture, it builds leadership, it builds community, and it builds performance. Then come over this way. Up My Hockey will take care of you. That is the overall business plan too of Up My Hockey. Just to be frank, is like we need to service teams. We need to service associations so we can grow good human beings within the jurisdictions where they are. So when a player walks into your spot as a U13 or U11 competitive player, they will continue to graduate with Up My Hockey curriculum as long as they stick with the program. It takes a lot off the plate from the coaches. It takes a lot off the plate from the administrators. You'd be surprised how much fewer problems there are in general when it comes to a team format because players are more easy or more readily available to deal with adversity and look at it as an opportunity. That some of the the headaches and things go away as well. So it really does conquer or solve a lot of problems, provides a lot of solutions. So again, we are open. We love to have conversations. If you are curious at all, look us up, jason@upmyhockey.com, or send in a contact form on the website. We're already a quarter of the way, halfway through this year. Sometimes these decisions get made a year in advance. So if you want to start the conversation now, bring it on. We're willing to have it. Now let's get back to the conversation.
You know what I'm going to ask you? I had on, so I'm here in CDA, and the head of hockey is Jeremy Milmock, and his son Connor is in Rockford. And anyways, I had a chance to meet Connor over the summer. Really like him, like saw his work ethic, and he skated with us a little bit, and started to know a little bit more about him. And this guy seems old school in all the right ways. Just wondering, with you having eyes down there, like how do you, what do you see with Connor and his chances of making his dream come true of going to the NHL?
Arguably, I saw 2 games last weekend in Dallas, and I would say he was our most consistent forward for 2 games. Obviously, Nick Lardis had 4 goals in 2 games against Texas. Like, yeah, you need those goal scorers, but this is one tough cookie. Like, I mean, legit tough.
Yeah.
Like, and he's still like one of our players, Kevin Korchinski, got speared 5-minute major from a kid out west. Their last name Lind. I can't remember his first name now. Anyways, that was game 1. Game 2 back to back. Right after him, like not even a question.
Yeah.
And finishes checks, not just to hit, but to put him in the second row. Right. Like between him and another guy, we have Dylan Boucher, who actually is from the ECHL as well. These guys are just happy to be in the A, and they're just living out, trying to make it. And Connor's, his work ethic, it's infectious watching him. And obviously, there's stuff to work on it. Some skill work, some skating, but it's not. He's not gonna not make it from lack of trying. Yeah. That's for sure.
No, 100%. And I was even thinking, like, just with your team, because I know like the dynamic of the NHL has changed and everything else. But you guys with your young players, right, and your young stars, and there's not really. Well, I shouldn't say I don't know your lineup very well, but it doesn't seem like there's like any type of fear factor too much there, like, is there room, like, again, for a guy that wants to PK, wants to hit, somebody like Connor, like it seems like there's still like that could be a valuable resource for a team, and maybe even Chicago, like to have somebody there, man in that type of job.
Yeah. without me.
Well, yeah, you know, I'm saying we're just shooting the shit, right? You're not the GM and you're not doing anything, but I'm just saying, like, as far as
well, let's just not even say Chicago. I think there's room in the NHL for him.
right.
You know, there is. You know, I'm a huge Tom Wilson fan, obviously, besides some of the suspensions, but you know, guys like that. I'm trying to think other guys around the league, Podsy, that just yeah, there's room.
Yeah.
You know, it might not be Chicago, it might be, but he's just got to continue to work and get better on his skills. You know, we talk about wall work. You know, I think everybody can get better at that, especially, you know, if he gets moved to the wing, he's playing center now, but if he gets moved to the wing, he's going to have to get pucks out, pucks in, you know, those old things. But I really like the kid, and I think he just works. He works. I got to bring up this play, Podsy, last weekend. There was a scrum net front in our defensive zone late in the game. And this guy basically had a yawning cage. And I was thinking, wow, what would I have done? You know, a guy's got an empty net. Am I coming in? I'm going to try and block the shot. B, I'm going to try and get stick on puck. This guy put this kid into outer space with a body check. Okay. I'm not joking.
Who did? Connor did?
Connor did. And he hit him so hard that this kid's helmet actually hit him as well. So both of them are like almost like a double KO. Anyways, the kid doesn't score, but it's like the third option was his first option. It was amazing.
Oh, that's great. I want to find that highlight now, and we'll clip it and show it on there. That'd be
you got to clip this. It's unbelievable.
That sounds like it. I mean, and talking with him, I mean, I didn't mean to make this about Connor, but like talking with him, like he loves that. Like he loves all of that. You know, like it's not, you know, like he wants to beat his old man's penalty minute record. You know what I mean? He gets to 10 fights before you know it. Like he really thoroughly enjoys that aspect of the game, and that's what I could put a big.
And he's good at it.
Yeah,
and he's good at it.
Yeah,
and it's not like he's not a good hockey player. He's good at his role.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. I think whatever. I think that there's a place for that. And even going back to that player identity thing, like everybody, I shouldn't say everybody, majority of guys want to be something, you know, that they potentially can't be because there's such a tight funnel there. That's an area where I think the funnel's a little bit wider because there's opportunity for guys, you know, to do that, but way less guys want to, you know, which I think is what shows up when you see a guy that has that fire in their eye and really loves doing that role and will do it anywhere, you know, without complaint. I think that's a valuable thing. For sure. What do you think about that prospects game last night? And how important is that for those players you think that are in there?
I think there's a ton of pressure in that game. I think it's a little, I never got the chance to play in one because they weren't around when we were playing, but I couldn't imagine walking into the Saddle Dome last night, knowing that I would say every GM was there last night. 32, right? You think?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Going into that arena with 32 GMs, with 3 or 4 scouts from every team. That's a lot. That's a lot to handle for a 17, 18-year-old. And man, I couldn't imagine, Podsy. I really couldn't.
Yeah. And there's a lot of dynamics with that too, right? Like you're playing a team game. Like the one thing I saw, and I'm not saying any one of these guys is selfish, but like I was thinking it was Preston and Hurlburt playing together, right? So you want to win the hockey game. But does anyone ever think about, you know, not making that pass to give this guy that you're in competition with for draft order, you know, like the play back door? Like, I don't think that you couldn't really process it that fast. And I think that if you're a real, actual, natural player, you're not going to make those decisions. But I think that dynamic is really weird there too. They're not teammates.
And even Hurlbut playing for the U.S. team last year.
Right.
So he's shooting on a goalie that he played with last year.
Right.
Like it's just a weird, it was a weird dynamic.
Yeah.
Anybody stand out in your eyes?
I only saw the third period. I forgot that it was on. So Hudson came in and he like showed me Preston's goal there at the end. And then I was like, that's when I watched the last 6 minutes. So Hudson watched the whole thing. I'm going to watch the game on Wednesday, or no, tomorrow, I guess it is now. I'll watch the second one there because I forgot that it was on. But yeah, in the 7 minutes, which was really the 7 minutes that I watched, Preston looked good. Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
he did. Yeah, he was moving the puck. And then that one kid on the Canada blue line, which was a name. I don't think he's from the West, but boy, he was pretty slick up top, like real patience, nice hands.
Villeneuve.
Yeah, Villeneuve looked pretty nasty. And I didn't
Yeah,
mind.
he's
Carroll's
got
had
some.
some good looks too.
Yeah, he was. I liked him a lot as well, and the Villeneuve kid was. That Lane Hudson. We kind of talked about it. Moving on the offensive blue line, he looks to have a lot of that in him.
Yeah, a lot of swagger there. A lot
Yeah,
of
he was
he made
dancing.
one play there. I said to Hudson, I'm like, oh my God, that guy's got ice in his veins. Like, totally last man back. Like
Oh yeah.
delay, looks a guy off, pulls it around. Like it was like he
I
was just
think the net
moved.
was empty at that point too,
Yeah, yeah.
and
It
he
was
was
pretty nice.
just high stepping, crossing over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about Planter's kids? So were you
Un-
there when Planter was
Unbelievable.
there?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
And
that's
I
pretty
got to know
wild to see all his boys do so well, hey?
I got to know Planter. He was the assistant in Chicago last year as well.
Yeah.
So I got to know him a little bit more. But Zam and Max, I believe,
Yeah.
very impressive start.
Yeah. And Victor, right? Isn't the Victor the one that's on it playing right now?
Is that the one on the U.S. team?
Yeah, I think that's the one
Yeah. So there's the three of them, right?
yeah. Zam and
Yeah.
Max, I think, are playing together right now in university, I
Yeah, at
think.
Duluth.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then Victor's the guy that's now in his draft year, I believe. And I had Max on my pod. Oh my God, is he a beauty? Like an absolute beauty. Love that
Nice.
kid. Oh yeah, he had me laughing, like just dying. And yeah, I mean they're all doing awesome.
Yeah,
Do
great
you
start. Great start for their college careers.
yeah, aren't they 1 and 2 in points right now or
Yep.
something?
Yep.
How cool is that, eh?
Yep. Well done.
I know. Well done. Good job, Planter. So, anyways, we're talking for anyone who's listening. Like Derek Plant was a guy we played with in Mannheim, and an NHLer. I mean, played with Buffalo, did the whole 9 yards, and so we know him. And then now his kids are coming through and being looks like they're being little world beaters. So it's fun to see the next generation come through.
Yeah, they're and they all just look just like them.
Yeah,
It's crazy. Crazy.
fantastic. So you've been in Kamloops quite a bit, hey? We talked about Bam. Hurlbert. He's been playing with Nathan Bem, who was one of your guys' guy. Was he a second rounder last year?
Third round pick.
Third round pick to Kamloops and to Chicago from Kamloops, and those two seem to have some great chemistry going on there, and doing really well. What are you seeing with that Kamloops group this year?
Well, I would say those two guys have a very their hockey IQ is really high. They see plays and they just feed off each other. The last time I was out west, they actually played the first game together and then they didn't the second game. And then they went back the third game. But it seems like they've been on a line pretty much the whole time since then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just a good give and go, tandem where they feed off each other. Little pick plays down low, which I think, and that's another thing that I think is crucial as well. But that's not for today. We'll do that at 267. Yeah, they're real smart together. Like I said, the give and goes in Podsy, as you would know, that like they give one-timer passes. They don't just rip it at each other.
Right.
So if Herbert sees Bame, sorry, with his stick cocked, he's not ripping it at him. Just lay it in there and let him have at it.
Yeah.
Which is a skill. A one-timer pass, giving one is a skill.
Yeah. Oh, for sure it is. Yeah.
And these two are they're real high-end offensive players right now.
Yeah, that hockey IQ you mentioned, like how that's one thing for me, like at the level I'm at, where I'm having a bit of a hard time from the coaching perspective when it's like, okay, like I see a play, through the coach's eyes, or maybe I would see it as a player that I think is like a very easy read, let's say,
Mhm.
right? And they're not being made. So like from a structure side as a coach, or even from a development side, it's like, okay, like you do these systems to create these opportunities. And then when you don't recognize that opportunity, like I don't know how to fill that gap, right? Like it's there, the structure was there to create this, and now we're not seeing it.
Patience.
I guess I just mean that like the hockey IQ piece is like, boy, is that a valuable piece to kind of have, hey, in
Mhm.
the toolbox. Maybe speak to that, your version of that, and how it shows up at these, more higher levels, elite levels.
Yeah, I think everybody thinks it on a different level, um, but I think there's growth to be made still. As coaches, as player development guys, having patience and constant reminders, constant teaching. If it's through video on ice, certain drills, explaining the drills a certain way so they realize what you're trying to get out of it. What we're not just doing this drill for you to skate around that cone through there and go bar down. This is why we're doing it, and I think that can sometimes make them smarter
Mm-hmm.
and kind of grow that hockey sense in a certain way. Obviously, I think there is naturals at it. There is. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But I think it can grow. I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, I think the watching of the hockey is a big one. I've been kind of just ruminating on it a little bit, just kind of in general, because I'm trying to think, like, even when we played, like, and I hear some of the older guys, like, the give and go aspect of the game isn't really what it once was, like, it's heard Huska talking about that the other day, like, that, we were all about, like, giving the puck, hopping into space. Now it's more of a big long cycle game, longer passes. Guys maybe don't use each other kind of independently as much. And then I was thinking from my level of, like, thinking about the ability to scan. You were talking about pre-scanning earlier,
Mhm.
like seeing the macro. um I think is it, like, that is something that has fallen behind. And then I'm starting to think, like, is it because they're like this all day long? Like, their focus is so here, like, and they're not doing things kind of in the macro. Because, for instance, right, a puck gets dumped in, let's just say, and there's a guy that's on your back, and the other guy is on the strong side where your rim's going to go, and there's another guy over there, and all it is like a recognition of, okay, there's four guys that I can see, which means that there's a lot of space behind me.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, just like that simple kind of like area assessment of, like, where jerseys are, and do I actually need to know where the winger is on this side, or I just need to get the puck there because someone on my side's going to get it because the
There should be
numbers align.
there should be some space there.
There should be space, right? And there should be a
Yeah.
guy, because I see three here and I don't see two over there. So it's got to be, the guy's got to be there. Like, those types of, like, reads, I find are, like, I don't know. It's just like, how do you teach that, right? Like, that's the piece I'm like, how do you teach that? Like, how do we get this in the
Count.
macro?
You
Yeah.
count.
Yeah. 100%.
I
But, like,
always use the thing as a D man. You're in the neutral zone without the puck, and the other team's coming up, and I look and I count 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the pass gets zipped behind me, and the guy's on a breakaway. Well, you got to count to 5. Do, do you know what I mean, Podsy?
yeah, 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 yeah,
If I'm scanning the ice and I'm looking, okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, perfect. We're up by a goal. I got 5 guys in front of me.
yeah,
Should be good.
yeah.
It's
No,
I
I
know
hear you.
I know it's crazy to say stuff like that, but I can remember when I was coaching and the last 5 minutes of the game, and I would just constantly remind the D, count to 5, keep the 5 in front of you,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's an
That
easy
is,
way.
yeah, it
Thanks,
is, and it
coach.
is that simple. It's so crazy. Like, I'm just thinking of some clips that we've shown this year, right? Like, on the back check, even, like, and I will say that I'm like, what do you? Because you'll watch it in the game, and it looks like there isn't the recognition that this is an odd man rush ahead of me. Like, how many jerseys are ahead of me, right? And how
It,
many of our jerseys are ahead of me? Well, there's
that's
three. So does that mean that
that's
you should
3
be?
against 2. So we need to add 1 to that picture, right?
I know I'm laughing about it, but, like, that's honestly, like, what I like. That's kind of like, that's the piece to me. I'm like, why is this being coached? Like, I shouldn't have to talk about this. Like, when you put your head up and you see that it's 3 versus 2, like, this should be an automatic instinct that I got to get in the picture, right? But it's like, it's sometimes for some guys it doesn't compute. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you're not interested, right? Maybe you're hoping for a turnover, I guess.
Yeah,
But I do think that some of that, just like that pattern recognition, I guess there's the word I'm looking for, a pattern recognition,
yeah.
right? The
Never
pattern
assume.
recognition is
I
what's
guess the other
missing.
thing is never assume as
Yeah.
coaches. Don't assume that they don't recognize that 3 and 2 is -1. Like, I guess the constant reminder of we need to add another 1 or even 2 guys to that picture
Yeah, yeah, that would be
for
to
that
our benefit.
recognition, right?
Yeah. Anyways, buddy. Well, you've been great. Thanks for coming on again for 167 after being guest 7. For any of you who are interested, like Andy's story is awesome, like as a player and what he was able to do, and really also quite interesting from the comes to the fact of like, not that you didn't make it, buddy, but like why not 10 years in the show, right? Like why not? Him and I both kind of share a little bit of a similar scenario there, and now we're both involved in helping players, kind of reach their full potential. But that was a really good discussion. I remember back in episode 7. So if you want to go,
Yeah,
check it out, please do.
that was good.
Fun.
Yep.
Yeah,
for sure.
And anyways, awesome to check in again. Glad your family's doing well. Glad
you as well, Podsy.
Glad everything's happening there for you. Appreciate you getting on with me here again. And
have a great practice.
We'll do it. Yeah, I got to get.
What'd you call it? What recognition was that?
Recognition of what?
Of 3 and 2 doesn't add up.
Oh, it's a pattern recognition.
Pattern recognition. I like that.
Pattern recognition.
You're going to do it at practice today?
No, today's probably they're leaving all for Turkey. Like half of them aren't even here yet because they left with flights because American Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's right.
And obviously we're in Idaho, so I think I got 11 guys today. So I think we're probably gonna do some one-on-ones just to get them, a little bit of a one-on-one day, then give them some fun at the end. Maybe play some games.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, great, Podsy.
Yep. Thanks for checking in. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for being here and listening to the entire episode of the Up My Hockey podcast, episode 167 with Andy Delmore. It's great for me to catch up with Andy. We've had a habit of that. He will call me on the road and we'll have a little catch up here and there, but it's great to give him back on the pod and talk about what he's doing now. I hope you found it entertaining and helpful. I really enjoy any conversation, especially with people like Andy who are doing it at the highest level with the best in the world. I know there's always things that we can learn for wherever you're at in your journey, whether you're a hockey parent or a hockey player, or whether you're a coach trying to help out. I'm sure there's lots you could take away from our discussion there. So enjoy, have a great week, and until next time, play hard and keep your head up.